Hello, everyone. As you can see outlined on this slide, we are happy to provide simultaneous interpretation to English, Spanish, and Portuguese today. Please press the globe button at the bottom of your computer screen and select your preferred language. In addition to simultaneous interpretation during today's session, you have the option to view slides in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. If you would like to continue viewing slides in English, there is nothing you need to do on your end. If you would like to view the slide deck in Spanish or Portuguese, please move your cursor to the top of the screen and click on the arrow next to View Options. Under Shared Screens, please select the language you would prefer to view the presentation in. If you have any difficulties accessing the audio or slides in your preferred language, please alert us in the chat or at dataalliance@bloomberg.org. On behalf of Bloomberg Philanthropies, I'm thrilled to welcome you all to this informational session on the Bloomberg Philanthropy City Data Alliance, a groundbreaking program that supports cities in transforming their data practices. My name is Florence Juilliard. I lead the Philanthropies data programs and have had the privilege of working closely with the first wave of 22 cities that are part of this initiative. Today, we'll cover 4 topics. First, you'll hear about what drove this opportunity, how the City Data Alliance came to be, and its core objectives. Next, my colleagues Carolina Araujo and Caroline Cavallari will share some details about how the program is structured. Then we will finally share an overview of the application. And finally, we'll spend our time together responding to your questions in a Q&A. As questions come to mind for you throughout our time together, please feel free to submit them via the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen in the language of your choice. We will collect them to discuss together during the Q&A. The Bloomberg Philanthropy City Data Alliance will identify a total of 100 cities over 3 years from across North, Central, and South America that are the most sophisticated, ambitious, and advanced at harnessing data and help them set a new standard for local governments committed to using data to power better results for residents. Before we dive further into the program details, I wanted to briefly reflect on why this is so important to us and why we are so excited to see each of you here today. Bloomberg Philanthropies works to create better, longer lives for the greatest number of people. This means that much of our work is in cities, more than 900 around the globe, for 3 big reasons. Number 1, more than half of the global population is affected by policies that are established by mayors and carried out by city leaders. Number 2, by 2050, that number will rise to 68%. And number 3, our funder, Mike Bloomberg, was a mayor, and he appreciates uniquely among major philanthropists the role that cities can play in galvanizing people, talent, and big ideas to move the world forward. With these reasons in mind, our impetus to help cities leverage the power of data is why we're here today. Since 2015, we've helped more than 250 cities improve the way they use data and evidence, and the progress has been fantastic. For example, we've seen the share of cities monitoring and analyzing progress toward key goals jump from 30% to 75%. And we've seen city leaders making better decisions that are directly improving their lives of residents. Many of you know this firsthand. We designed Bloomberg Philanthropy City Data Alliance for those city leaders who are already committed to using data to improve lives, and as part of that commitment, now want to go to the next level. The program is founded on nearly a decade of experience improving data practices and building data capacity in cities, including our work creating a standard and path to data excellence through What Works Cities certification, which many of you may be familiar with. You'll learn how certification and the City Data Alliance complement each other later. The City Data Alliance is a distinct program that was designed with three important lessons from our work in mind. Building a data culture requires the leadership of mayors and senior leaders to set a tone, expectations, and drive investments in skill building, data use, and practices. Data itself doesn't drive decisions, values do. Data is a powerful tool to drive values-driven goals and find solutions to the complex problems your city faces today, every day. And transformation is tough, but an approach that is focused on citywide data policies and practices can hardwire a new way of working in your city and lead to lasting change. The program is designed for mayors that have already demonstrated the capacity and commitment to using data to improve the lives of residents in their cities and want to ensure promising data practices go citywide. It is an opportunity for mayors and their senior teams to deepen the way cities use data to inform decisions, understand impact, and communicate results. Participating mayors and leaders embark on a journey with leading experts in data and evidence to lead confidently with data and understand their role in creating the conditions necessary for citywide adoption of data excellence, invest in the right people, practices, and platforms to drive change with a particular focus on a challenge that all cities faced, building a robust data workforce, empowering residents and staff to contribute to problem solving, all with the end goal of building lasting change in cities and delivering positive impact for residents. With that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Carolina Araújo, to share more on the program structure before we turn to your questions.
Muito obrigada, Florence. Boa tarde a todos e todas. Meu nome é Carolina.
Thank you so much, Florence. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carolina Araújo, and I'm part of the City Data Alliance team. Today, I'm going to explain some of the most important aspects of the program. City Data Alliance is composed of two parts. One is what we call the accelerator for mayors and other city leaders focused on providing the key components that are needed to transform the data culture in your city. And the second part is a specialization in data practices, a deep dive in one of the 4 critical data areas with experts on the subject to enhance your practice and make it sustainable throughout the whole city. In addition, since the beginning of our work with the cities, we use the certification What Works City to understand and advance the capabilities of your city and to support cities that are not certified and that are starting the program. We can help you and support throughout the certification. I will start by giving you details about the accelerator, and then my colleague Caroline will explain about our data specialization areas. About the accelerator starts officially with an in-person meeting at Johns Hopkins University in the city of Baltimore, USA, where the mayors will take part in 3 days of activities with their peers from other cities in the cohort and understand the role they will play in a data-based culture in their cities. They will be introduced to the main concepts to be covered throughout the first 6 months of the accelerator and how they will deal their teams to be successful throughout this period. As a main part of those 3 days, the mayor will develop their vision for the challenges that their city will address throughout the program and will convey that to the senior team, including the program leader. What are the main results that we can expect from the accelerator? At the end of the accelerator, your city will create or enhance a data strategy for the whole city, a 3-year vision with an action plan designed to advance your data usage in your city and improve its results. It will also cover key components such as governance, quality, use, and transparency of data, and what you need to achieve those goals. It will also create a new or enhanced strategy to have data workforce capacity and assess the skills and capabilities of data that you already have in your city, identifying improvement opportunities and how to attract and retain new data talents in your city. We will also have a coherent standard for data collection and use of disaggregated data, and a centralized data platform that is new or enhanced that can be used as a citywide data repository, collecting, storing, and validating usage data for real-time use by city leaders. This information is available at our website in additional resources. Now, I'd like to turn the floor over to my colleague, Caroline Cavallari, who will give you more information about the data specialization tracks. Thank you so much, Carolina. My name is Caroline Cavallari, and I work in the public contraction excellency, and it's a great pleasure to be here sharing more information about the procurement area. I want to thank my colleagues who are here today. A key part of the citywide data strategy includes working on one of the 4 key areas of this practice that are needed for you to achieve data use excellency. This component was designed to support your teams to deepen your city's data initiatives and create the necessary conditions to disseminate practices of evaluation, excellency in procurement, and performance management. Each track is projected not only to support the establishment of policies and standards for the whole city, but also to help map the types of teams and staff that you need to make sure this practice is sustainable. So this practice, we have 4 basic practice: data as a service led by public digital, which will develop practices, policies, and the workforce of your city in order to have a coherent way to project and provide high quality data services from end to end and at a scale to serve the city employees and the general public. In the evaluation track led by Behavioral Insights team, we will create an evaluation strategy for the whole city, and an evaluation team will be trained to create relevant evidence and achieve better results. The performance management led by the Bloomberg Center for Government Excellence from Johns Hopkins was created to support the city leadership to establish routines and processes to manage and measure their priority projects. And finally, the Public Procurement Excellency track was created to transform the procurement process throughout the city with a strategic approach led by results, saving time from your workforce and creating more diversity and achieving better results for the services providers. You can get a summary of all of these tracks in the additional resources of our website and get more information. Do you have any other questions? I would like to turn the floor over to Carolina Araújo, who will give you further details about the program's timeline and the subscription process. Thank you, Carol. Now I'm going to give you some practical information about the timeline and eligibility. In this slide, you can see the timeline. So in a nutshell, the program will run from April 23 and May 24. The accelerator and the data specialization tracks will start simultaneously after the in-person meeting in Baltimore. The specialization tracks vary in duration and they can last up to 12 months. Eligibility. You've heard that what the program is going to offer you. Now we would like to tell you about who we think is better positioned to benefit the most from this program. This program was designed for cities who are already committed to using data to improve residents' life and now want to achieve the next level. So we require a firm commitment so that the mayor take part in an in-person meeting in the city of Baltimore in the USA from May 16th to 18th, 2023, with arrival of participants on May 15th. We will not accept replacements for the mayor in that in-person meeting. Before we give you details of the subscription process, we would like to make a pause and check whether you have any questions. I see here a question about the responsibilities of the mayor during the program. Well, as I said earlier, the mayors will have to take part in an in-person meeting lasting 3 days in Baltimore, USA, and they will learn about their role to create a data-based culture in their city. The mayors will be introduced to key concepts that will be covered throughout the program, and they will also learn how to lead their teams throughout the program to achieve the expected results. The mayors will also be introduced to the possibility of adopting a data-driven culture and how to establish a priority for their during their management. The mayor will also have the possibility of identifying a senior leader to be the City Data Alliance lead and define a team of up to 3 to 4 months from their executive team to take part in the 6-month accelerator phase, and then dedicate a technical team for a specialization track, depending on the specialization track defined for your city. And if the city doesn't have this role yet, then the mayors will be guided to select a senior leader from the city to execute the citywide data strategy that will be created or improved during the program. The position may vary from city to city, but that's the equivalent of the city data officer. We have another question here about the specialization tracks. So I would like to ask my colleagues to help me out in answering that question. But the question is about an example of practices that the cities need to have in order to be successful in the specialization tracks. Starting with evaluation, what are the practices that cities must have in place so that they are successful in that program? Hi, Carolina. Thank you for that question. For a city to be successful in the program, we believe it needs to have at least 4 things. In the past, have been conducted assessment or evaluation processes and having systems to capture resident data. That means that the city must already have a commitment to evaluating, experience in executing evaluation strategies, and a data culture to support those evaluations. Second, it's also important to have an relationships between departments, because we need at least 2 of the city's departments committed to implementing evaluation policies. Third, the city needs to be willing to build or already have an evaluation team with data analytics capabilities. And as you said, have from 3 to 4 employees that can dedicate from 10 to 50% of their time to the accelerator. The idea would be for these people to have experience in using data, and what is of utmost important is that they have the time available so that they can focus on the program. That's all. Thank you so much, Arlette. Now, Carol is going to tell us about public procurement excellency. What do the cities need to be successful in that area? Thank you, Carol. Well, first of all, something that we require quite strongly is commitment. We want cities that are committed to improving their public procurement practices, and especially cities that are committed to analyzing the data they already have related to the public procurement process, analyze this data and monitor this data in order to improve their processes and results. We also want cities with teams that are able to mobilize other departments, other agencies, so that they can work together when the topic of the module is related to something that the city wants to prioritize. So health or education, for example. And third, a time commitment. So be present in our weekly meetings. We have content meetings and coaching meetings. These are the one-on-one meetings with the cities that focus on a more hands-on type of work. So this is what we want from the cities, for them to be successful in the public procurement track. Thank you so much, Carol. Now I'm going to answer about the next two specialization areas, starting with data as a service. Cities that are good candidates to be a part of this have the ambition and the commitment to making significant change. And they already have in the city a data director or an equivalent position and a dedicated team to data and analytics and other specialists such as user specialists, designers, and other types of positions. The city also needs to have a strong history of publishing and maintaining open data and the ability of identifying data sources that could approach a clear priority of the city during the specialization phase. This specialization area is not good for cities that are still looking for support to establish or to fix an open data portal. We expect the cities to already have the type of structure in place before starting this specialization. And finally, performance management. The two main requirements from the cities are the following. First, having a team made up of data specialists that already collect and analyze data and publish data. So the data needs to exist, and also have a culture to collect and analyze data, at least at an intermediate level, so that the cities can be successful in this specialization. Let me see if we have any other questions before we turn to the details about the subscription process. I think we have another question here before we give you details about the subscription process. What are the guidelines for cities that do not have a mayor as the main leader? So cities that have like a council management type of government. The answer to this question is yes. In the first cohort, we've had many cities with that type of structure, including San Antonio in Texas, Tempe in Arizona, Rochester in Minnesota, and two Canadian cities, Regina and Kitchener. And the city, the mayor needs to be a part of the program as an effective member during the subscription process. And if the city is selected, the mayor needs to take part in the 3-day in-person meeting in Baltimore from May 16 to May 18, with arrival on the 15th. We encourage the deputy city managers to serve as senior leaders of the program. Before we answer any other questions, we would like to give you details about the subscription process. We have devised a subscription process that focuses on two main components. One is the ability of your city to perform this work in a relevant way, and the second is the mayor's view to make their administration work better with the use of data. We're looking for cities that are already using data in an advanced way and mayors that have a clear vision and commitment to using data in their leadership. That includes the willingness and time needed to establish long-lasting systems and processes for the use of data. The subscription process for the City Data Alliance has 4 steps. The first is a commitment statement that is signed with all of the commitments of the mayor and the senior team that will participate. This statement needs to be signed by the mayor. The second component is a mayor video in which they answer 3 questions about their view and the reasons why they want to take part in this program, how the program is going to support the city to improve the lives of residents, and why this is the best time for the city to participate in this program. Third, we have a written document with 3 questions about how the city is using data today and how the mayor and the city leadership understands are the strengths and weaknesses of the citywide data practice and how the city is already investing in evidence and use of data. We also ask the cities to classify their order of preference for the specialization tracks, considering the priorities for the city for performance management, public procurement, data as a service, and so on. What would be your preference with a brief explanation of why? And finally, the fourth component of the program is a self-assessment of the What Works City certification. What Works City certification establishes an international excellency standard for the use of data in cities, and the City Data Alliance is completely aligned with the What Works City certification. The initial assessment will compare your data practices with the best practices in 43 different criteria. And the aim of performing this What Works City certification now is so that the program team have data about your status and adjust the program to the needs of each one of the cities. Now we will have a second round of Q&A. All of the program partners and the program support team is available here to answer all of your questions about the program and the subscription process. We can take questions in writing, in any language of your preference.
Nós temos uma pergunta sobre qual é o perfil da
We have a
equipe
question about the profile of the team that will accompany the mayor during the City Data Alliance program and how many people will be directly involved in the program. The number of senior leaders who will participate in the program will depend on the structure and needs of each participating city. But based on the experience of the first group of cities, many cities of the first group selected from 3 to 4 senior leaders to take part in the program, including the City Data Alliance lead that usually, but not always, is a position equivalent to a chief data officer or a chief information officer who will be the main point of contact of the city during the program. Also, if your city is selected, the program team will work with the City Data Alliance lead or mayor to identify senior leaders that can support designing and implementing the citywide data strategy, which is one of the expected outcomes of the program. So in conclusion, the team that will take part in the specialization tracks based on the first cohort is that the specialization track teams will not be the same team that will participate in the accelerator. However, the City Data Alliance lead will be common to both groups and will participate in both components of the program. Finally, just some clarification of what is a senior leader. When we say senior leader, we're talking about city employees at the director level or above. In the first group of cities, we had chief data officers, city managers, director of information and technology, data directors, so people with the authority and capability to implement the citywide data strategy. These senior leaders are selected based on the structure and needs of each one of the cities. Let me check if we have any other questions coming in.
pergunta sobre o vídeo de inscrição.
Oh, yes, we have a question about the subscription video. The question is whether the mayor should be there in the subscription video and whether it needs to be professionally edited. Yes, the mayor needs to take part in the video, and recordings of other city employees will not be considered. That's an opportunity for the mayor to share their view in participating in the program. But there is no need for the video to be professionally edited. You can record with a cell phone or just a basic camera.
Temos uma pergunta aqui sobre o que
Now,
acontece depois
we just got a question about what happens after the 3-day in-person gathering in Baltimore. After those 3 days, the participating mayors will have a meeting with the city senior leaders to share the vision, the program goals, and expected outcomes with the accelerator in order to develop the citywide data strategy, which is the key component of the program. The senior team from each city will participate in the accelerator that has several components, such as keynote sessions, which will be held virtually, and the senior teams will hear from data specialists about examples of this type of work in action, best practices, and how to collaborate with their peers to create a citywide data culture. The second component are workshops. These may be one-on-one or with other peer cities in the program. These are also virtual sessions. These are opportunities for the senior teams to apply the concepts and the capabilities they learn during the keynote sessions and learn more about how to use those practices in their cities to meet their needs. And finally, the last component of the accelerator are one-on-one coaching sessions. These are regular sessions that will be scheduled with the senior teams from each city. They're also virtual, and their goal is to support the cities in advancing in their implementation plans. That includes opportunities for the cities with experts to develop the citywide data strategy and all its components. And finally, yet another component that will happen after the meeting in Baltimore are showcases. These are opportunities during the acceleration for the mayors and senior teams to get together to talk about their progress, show what they have done, and have a mayor guide about the next steps to create a data culture. Let me see if we got any other questions. We have two questions that my colleagues can answer, I think. One is about the evaluation track, and the question is whether the cities need to choose a specific project to work on during the evaluation track, or if the focus of the specialization track is on evaluation in a more general way.
Thank you, Carolina. So the cities will be able to pick the project that they would like to work on. In this track, you will be assigned a coach. So he or she may aid you in choosing this evaluation project. However, you are the one that really knows the city government. So we'll give you some guidance on how to select a novel, meaningful, actionable, and feasible evaluation project. But at the end of the day, it will be you choosing since you are the one that knows your city the best. So we can also share some examples of other evaluation projects during the track that were conducted by other cities.
Muito obrigada. A próxima pergunta é para o
Thank you
João.
so much. Now, our next question is for João about the What Works City certification. The question is, in order to get the certification, does the city need to have a web platform where the data is published? What happens if the city doesn't have that platform or portal? Does the program help the city build that platform? Thank you for your question. That's actually one of the criteria we assess. The certification will analyze the city in 43 criteria. Having an open data portal is part of one of the 8 clusters of criteria. It doesn't mean that the city needs to have a portal, but it's common that the cities usually that have good practices with data have an open data process. So we help them throughout this process. They need to have some minimum criteria to have the lower level of certification, the silver certification. The city needs to meet at least 22 of those criteria. And we help the cities during the process of increasing their certification level. If they have 29, a score of 29, for example, they can upgrade their certification level. But it's not a requirement to have an open data
Muito
portal.
obrigada, João. E aí eu também vou
Thank you,
incluir
João.
de que a
I
certificação
would also
não
like to add that
durante
this
o ciclo de data
certification doesn't happen
obrigada,
during the
Fernanda.
City Data
E nosso
Alliance
currículo, ele fica
necessarily,
compartilhado entre os dois
although
programas.
the
As cidades, sim, elas
curricula
podem
of
fazer
both programs
certificação
are
durante o
very
curso de
well aligned, and the
aperfeiçoamento e
cities
também
can advance in the
no,
certification
no City Data Alliance
throughout the
fazer
course of the program, but it's not a requirement of the
verificação de
City Data
dados para que
Alliance
elas possam
program
participar do programa.
that the cities have an open data portal in order to participate in the program.
Nós temos uma pergunta logística
Now, we
sobre o
have a
convite,
question regarding
do prefeito em
logistics
Baltimore, para quando o prefeito
of
retornaria à sua
the
cidade depois
convening in
da
Baltimore,
mudança
about
presencial.
when the mayor would
A
be able
sede
to
presencial
return
acontecerá
to
entre
their
os dias
city
16
after
e
the
18
in-person meeting. The
de maio,
in-person meeting will run from
obrigada,
May
Fernanda.
16 to May
E
18.
o
Mayors
restante
will
dos
arrive
dias,
on the 15th
na
and
noite
they
do
will
dia
return to their
18 de
cities
maio.
in the evening of the 18th of May, 2023.
Nós temos uma pergunta, e essa eu vou passar para Florence.
Now we have a question that I'd
Esse
like
programa é
Florence to
diferente,
answer about
do
how
programa de
this
educação
program
executiva,
differs from the executive
da
education program
Harvard.
from Bloomberg,
Quais são as diferenças do
Harvard.
programa?
Thanks, Carol. Yeah, so the program is different from the Bloomberg Harvard Leadership Initiative, which many mayors of cities who have indicated interest have taken part in. That program is a year-long program for a mayor and 2 senior leaders and really focuses on leadership more broadly, collaboration, negotiation. There is a component related to being a data-informed leader, but the City Data Alliance is really for cities that have demonstrated capacity and vision for what data-informed decision-making can do in a city, and is squarely focused on advancing data practices and policies in a city. So it'll be much more focused, more narrowly focused on data and data practices and data policies, how to create a citywide data strategy, as well as how to advance a city's practice in one of the 4 data practice area tracks.
Muito obrigada, Florence. Nós temos
Thank you
outra
so much, Florence. We have another
sobre
question
qual
regarding the subscription.
disponibiliza
What is the
junto com,
documentation that needs to be submitted together with the self-assessment of the What Worked City certification? In order to subscribe to the City Data Alliance program, you don't need any documentation for the self-assessment part. But to subscribe to the City Data Alliance, you just need to answer each one of the questions with yes, no, or ongoing to each one of the certification criteria, because as we said earlier, the goal now is that the program team has access to the current city capacity in using data so that we can adapt and use the program syllabus to meet the needs of each one of the participating cities. And the certification will help us understand where the cities are at right now. Please feel free to continue sending us your questions through the chat box.
Nós temos uma pergunta sobre
We
quais
have a question here about
e quais são os
the
compromissos semanais
framework of the accelerator phase and what are the weekly commitments of the senior team when they decide to participate in the program. The senior team members need to take part in the accelerator activities during 6 months with 3 learning periods. Each learning period lasts for 2 months, including online sessions, workshops, and one-on-one coaching sessions. All of the activities happen online. The senior team will also support the technical teams in the specialization track assigned to your city. And they differ among themselves, but they also have collective sessions, workshops, and one-on-one coaching sessions to each one of the cities. The two fronts of the program, the accelerator and the program specialization tracks, are designed so that the senior team can have a robust participation in both components of the program.
Ver se temos mais perguntas.
Let me check whether we have any more questions.
Nós temos uma pergunta do ADJob.
We have a question by Adejobi, I hope I have pronounced your name correctly, about the logistics of the in-person gathering in Baltimore. We're going to answer this question by email to the selected cities with all of the details about where the venue is and the whole agenda for this in-person gathering.
Carol, I do want to add that for any mayors traveling to Baltimore, the cost of travel and hotel will be covered by Bloomberg Philanthropies, and we will have a hotel picked out and ready to go. So we will work with any accepted city to figure out their travel logistics, but just know that there is no payment necessary from a city to participate.
Muito obrigada, Florence.
Thank you so much, Florence.
Ver se temos mais perguntas.
Let me see if we have any more questions.
Temos uma pergunta da Franciele.
We just got a question by Franciele about whether we will get in touch with all of the cities that subscribe to the program, whether they are selected or not. And the answer is yes, all cities will be informed whether they have been accepted to the program or not. The cities that are selected will get more details about the program, and the other cities will also be informed.
Temos uma outra pergunta de logística que a gente também vai responder por e-mail.
Another logistics question that we will answer by email later about who will accompany the mayor in Baltimore, logistics-wise as well. So this question will be answered by email to the selected cities.
Ver se temos mais perguntas.
Pulling for questions.
Temos uma pergunta super importante da Claire.
We have a very important question by Claire about the application deadline. The application deadline is February 16th till 11:59 p.m. EST. We encourage all applications to be sent as soon as they're ready. You don't need to wait for the final deadline. All the applications are already being reviewed periodically by the program team.
Perguntas, temos mais alguns minutinhos para qualquer dúvida,
We
pergunta.
still have a few minutes, so if you have any questions or remarks, feel free to send them our way.
Tem uma pergunta sobre.
We have a question here about the deadline for the final answer to the cities that have applied to the program, when they're going to hear back about the application results. The cities that have applied can expect to hear from the program team in April about the status of their application. But during this time, if you have any questions, we are available to answer them by email. We will write the program's email in the chat box to make it easier for you. And the April deadline includes cities that will be selected, the selected cities and the cities that are not selected to participate in the program.
Nós temos tempo para mais uma pergunta ou duas perguntas, antes da gente poder encerrar essa
We have
sessão.
time for one or two final questions before we wrap up.
Que não temos mais perguntas por agora, mas
Well, if there are no further questions for now, remember you can send us any of your questions by email and we'll be available to answer them. Thank you all very much. Now I turn the floor over to Florence to wrap up the session today.
Thank you. We are thrilled by your interest in the program and hope that this was informative, and will encourage you to consider if the City Data Alliance is the right for your city and apply. As a reminder, the last day to submit your application is quickly approaching next Thursday, February 16th. We look forward to receiving your application very soon, and your city support team member is ready to discuss if you have any questions before you submit or want to speak to a currently participating city. The city support team will also stay on the call now if you have any questions or assistance you need with your application, which they can again address now to make sure you submit as soon as possible. Thank you.